Hello YouTube, my name is Sean Connors and welcome back to the Outsiders channel, and I'd like to quickly, this will be the last video I do on this subject, to be honest, for the moment. I just want to talk over a little bit more on the discussion regarding point buy and rolling stats. And I just need to clarify a couple of points. The first thing is that, first off, if you've seen any of the advanced videos I've done in regards to player styles, Power Game is just a player style. That's the first thing. It's a part of the audience. The audience may well want to play that way. Where certain systems do fall down or have a problem, and we'll use Pathfinder because it's, as I said before in several videos now, it's my default system. Pathfinder is a very crunchy game. By definition, being crunchy, that means there's a lot of mathematics at play from a designer's point of view, and you know it's going to favour the power gaming type player types. And the reason it does is because of all the various layers that have been built into it that add skills, abilities, almost magical items really, feats being sort of a half magic item really in effect. So lots of powers within it. So it tends to encourage that. Now the issue comes that it's not a problem in terms of, I'm not in the slightest bit suggesting that, you know, very good players won't adapt point buy to better fit the role of their character, so they'll put points in where they feel their character they want it to be. That's a narrative and an RPG thing to do, and that's great. Where the problem lies is it's okay if all the group is pretty much doing that. That's not an issue, yeah, because in that system, if everybody's doing the same thing, great, because as a GM it's easy to balance those things out. It's not a problem because everybody's doing it, therefore you can assess the effectiveness of all the characters and just make sure your stories match the player's abilities, so it's a fair fight, if you like, a fair game. And it's interesting. What happens though is if you've got a narrative style player and a power gaming player in the same group, the narrative may well adapt his stats down, which is fine, but the power gamer won't. He will actually go off the chart. Now I saw, quite interesting, that some people were saying that you know, wouldn't let the power gamer do that. We're actually taking away some of your audience. You can't, in reality, it's not as simple as just saying you're not going to do that in my game. That's fine, you'll lose those players because they won't want to come, yeah, because they'll feel that they're being stifled, stopped. They can't be creative. They can't do what they want to do, which is, and that's why they came to the table. And every player comes to the table for different reasons. So one style or the other isn't right or wrong. They're just styles. But let's assume that you've allowed the narrative style player to put the stats wherever he wants to using point buy. Great. But you've got a power gamer in your group. One of the problems is the fact that now you've got disparity because somebody's playing the system. Yeah, somebody's playing, and legally, they're not doing illegal here, they're doing what's allowed within the system. Another video recently touched on the fact that, you know, rules are important. That was from the Dark Age of, you know, and how important they were. And I added a proviso on that. I think the rules are constantly changing, but that's my own personal opinion because the GM has to adapt to the audience. So you've now got a disparity. You've got a character that's playing within the rules, and you've got a character that's playing to the character. Two distinct styles of play, but a huge difference when you talk about a game like Pathfinder. Massive. There's, no matter, even if they're the same level, one is going to be better than the other, and that disparity will grow over time, without a doubt, because it does. That's what the mathematics will tell you. Now, as a GM, if you fudge the roles behind the screen, they're fine. But my experience of this is why I roll openly has always been that players see through this in the end. And once they start seeing through it, the game loses its power. You tend to lose players in the long run. What players want is that challenge. So it's about recognising the styles of play around the table and remembering how important it is. For one thing, the system does very well. You know, one thing a system does very well is it sets the tone and the theme for the game ahead. And that's important because when you decide where the majority of your players lie, you've got to pick a system that discourages that power gaming without you having to stomp on it. So for example, you would take a system that may be a retro style game, which still has elements that this person's going to like, but it's going to be lots of elements that your majority of your group want. That way you get the best of both worlds. But it is a very tricky subject with a lot of thorny issues, but I thought it was well worth covering again. So I'm going to quickly recap here because I think this is important. First off, I'm not adverse to power gaming. My God, my best friends are power gamers. I've got to be honest and say that. It's just a style of play. It's something they enjoy. It's one of the reasons they come to the table. They want to feel the knocking on their heads. Power gaming as a GMing tool just basically means as a GM you've got to raise your game. you have to raise your game to play the game. You have to understand that 30% and put encounters in that are going to be interesting to those power gaming types. If you have the narratives in your game, it just basically means what you have to do is make sure there are many elements within it that require conversation. It's not as simple as well as just saying, and I'm probably not going to end the video just straight away, it's not as simple as just saying, yeah, well, I've got a character that's got thousands of languages. We all know, look, that's great in a sort of a low-powered retro-style game. That can pretty much work. But in a game like this, where you have such a huge disparity, it's very easy for the godlike characters. I'll use godlike because if you've got for example, a wizard-type character amongst the power gaming types, which is often the case because it's a powerful class, and so they will try to get the most out of it, they can take away people's skills, languages and stuff at a stroke. Yeah, so you can climb, spider climb. Yeah, so you can speak different languages, comprehend languages, speak languages. You can do all sorts of stuff that quickly derive you of hundreds of points that you've put in because it was the way you wanted to play. So there is going to be a disparity relatively quickly without me having to cap it. And if you couple that with the fact that these people think totally differently than your narratives and your role players, as a GM it means you have to have a different mind switch. You have to know, how to combat this. I think it's for a video for another time, and maybe a video to follow up after this, so I may well do that. But I want to end it here at this point and just say that my take on it has simply been that these are styles of play. You have to understand the styles of play, and you have to adapt to the greater audience around you. And the way that that's often done is through the system you choose. If you choose Pathfinder, you're taking a crunchy game. You're giving the power gamers exactly what they want. And it's no good saying it's not in the spirit of the game. If it wasn't in the spirit of the game, why is it in the rules? Yeah, that's the problem that you face. That's why you have to take a rule set that is much more loosey-goosey, much more lighter, that doesn't have those power edges in it. And if you like, take a system that has supposed dead levels in it. Who cares? Power gamers have to accept the fact that's the game you're going to play. And in the way, if they've been with you on a journey and you've played another type of game and then you've gone on to do something else, they'll be with you. So it's important to understand the styles, and that's why I raise it here in this video. Thanks for watching. I've been Sean Connors. Take care of yourselves and happy gaming.